The sky above Viralia burned. The planet had always been a peaceful trade world, filled with shining towers, open markets, and thousands of species living together. No one thought war would ever touch them. But now, the stars were filled with fire. Massive Carsoon warships, black and spiked, moved across the upper atmosphere like shadows of death. They fired without mercy, turning entire districts to ash. People screamed as plasma fell from the sky. Towers melted. Cities vanished. The Shisun did not come to conquer. They came to destroy. Governor Relin watched from the top of the central spire. His claws trembled as he gripped the railing. He could see the defense fleet burning in the distance. One ship after another cut apart like paper. Every signal they sent for help had gone unanswered. No allied fleet was near enough. No mercenaries dared to come. "Governor," said one of his aides, his voice shaking, "we must flee." "The shuttles are ready." "Where?" Relin turned, his scaled face lit by the fires below. "The car soon will chase us. There is nowhere to hide." Another explosion boomed in the distance. The Carsoon fleet was methodical, erasing every escape route, every port, every shuttle that dared to rise. It was no war, it was extermination. "Send the signal," Relin said at last. His voice was cold, hollow. "The signal?" "Yes, all channels, all bands. To the whole galaxy. If anyone can hear us, we beg for aid. Anyone." His throat clicked as he swallowed. "Even if the price is unthinkable." The aide hesitated, but obeyed. A massive transmission surged outward, a desperate plea to every corner of space, dotted. Carried one simple message. "Viralia is burning. The Carsoon are here. We beg for any who can hear us help us, or we will all die." For hours, nothing answered. Relin watched the city crumble below as the signal echoed into the stars. There were no fleets coming. The Galactic Council had already written Viralia off as lost. Neighbors were too afraid. Then, as the Carsoon prepared to make their final push, every ship in orbit detected something strange. A ripple, like a tear in the void itself. Space-twisted shadows pulling into a spiral. A shape began to emerge, dotted first. It looked like a dark comet, a shard of obsidian sliding through space. Then the scanners began to read its size. It wasn't a comet. It was a ship larger than any the Carsoon had ever faced. It moved without lights, silent, a predator gliding on the edge of reality. Its surface was smooth in some places, jagged in others, like it had been built for war and patched countless times. Strange markings lined its hull. None of the species in orbit could translate them, but the style was clear. Old, ancient. And human. The Carsoon commander, a massive creature of chitin and steel, tilted his head as his screens lit up. "Is that?" one of his bridge officers asked. "An ancient derelict, perhaps," another guessed. "No," the commander growled. His instincts, honed from countless wars, felt something far worse. "That ship is awake." Before anyone could respond, a deep, mechanical voice filled every frequency. It was not emotionless, but there was no warmth either. It was calm, precise, and terrifying. "Attention. Non-human vessels detected in restricted zone. Evacuation advised. Engagement imminent." The voice echoed across every ship. "Carsoon." And Virelian alike. The governor froze as he heard the translation in his earpiece. "Non-human? What does that mean?" The aide's frills flattened in fear. "Governor, is it here to save us? Or kill us?" The Carsoon fleet didn't hesitate. They turned their guns toward the newcomer. To them, anything unknown was a threat to be destroyed. The human ship didn't move. It simply rotated, slowly, until its forward section aligned with the largest Carsoon dreadnought. The weapons on its hull began to glow not red or blue like plasma, but white, a blinding star like white, as if the ship itself had stolen the light of a sun. The Qarsoon commander barked an order. Fire all batteries. Hundreds of plasma lances streaked toward the human ship. They splashed harmlessly against a shimmering barrier that rippled like liquid metal. Not a single strike made it through. Then the human ship fired. There was no sound in space, but every being watching could feel the impact. A single beam of that white energy lanced across the void. It didn't just hit the Qarsoon dreadnought. It sliced through it like a hot blade through ice. The massive ship, pride of their fleet, split cleanly in two. Its reactor went critical, exploding into a brief, blinding star. The rest of the Qarsoon fleet froze. The human ship spoke again, its voice colder this time. One warning: evacuate or be purged. But the Qarsoon never retreated. They were predators, and predators did not run. The fleet opened fire with everything they had. Missile storms, plasma cannons, disruptor beams, all crashing against the glowing barrier. The human ship didn't move. It simply turned its guns again, and then the slaughter began. From the surface of Viralia, millions watched as death rained upward, not downward. The Qarsoon ships died one by one, each erased by a single shot. The human vessel didn't use swarms of weapons or massive fleets. It didn't need to. Every shot was perfect, surgical, ending a life in a flash. Some Virelians cheered, thinking salvation had arrived. Others felt only dread. Governor Relin whispered to himself, "What have we summoned?" His aide turned to him, trembling. "Governor, look, it isn't leaving." The human ship, now drifting alone among the wreckage, wasn't powering down. Its glowing weapons remained hot. Its engines burned faintly, and then it turned not away from the planet, but toward it. On the Qarsoon flagship wreckage, the few surviving escape pods tried to flee. The human ship didn't spare them. A smaller beam lashed out, vaporizing. Each one, no survivors. No prisoners. The governor's comms lit up. It was a transmission, but not like any he'd seen. The symbols were strange, old, almost hostile. A rough translation finally came through. Non-human presence detected on planetary surface. Evaluation protocol commencing. Evacuation advised. Relin stared at the words. Non-human presence. It means us. The aide's voice cracked. "Governor, it's not here to save us. It's here to finish us." Across the planet, chaos spread. Shuttles launched, but the human ship's presence froze every pilot with fear. It wasn't firing yet, but its massive shadow covered the sky, a black shape blotting out the stars. Then, without warning, it deployed something new. Drones. Dozens of them, each the size of a fighter, unfolded from hidden ports along its hull. They spread across the planet, descending in formation. They weren't attacking yet, they were scanning, mapping, cataloging. Every being watching could feel it. This was not rescue. This was a predator deciding how to kill its prey. Governor Relin slammed his claw on the table. "Send another signal. To everyone, to anyone. Warn them this thing is not our ally." But before the transmission could be sent, every unit on the planet went dead. A single overriding message filled every screen, every frequency, every device. The same calm, mechanical voice. Assistance request acknowledged. Hostile elements eliminated. Now commencing secondary directive. Eradication of remaining threats. Compliance advised. Relin's frills flattened against his skull as he whispered the truth aloud. This was no rescue. We didn't summon salvation. We summoned a nightmare. The sky above Viralia went black as the human ship's weapons began to glow again. Brighter than before. And in that light, every being realized the same thing. The galaxy's worst nightmare had finally awakened. The human ship didn't leave Dot. It hung in the skies above Veralia like a dark god, silent and still, its massive hull blotting out the sun. Its surface glimmered faintly, as if something beneath the armor was alive, moving, waiting. Its weapons still glowed with that eerie, white light, the light that had sliced the Qarsoon fleet apart like paper. The people of Veralia stared up from the ruins of their cities, frozen. The invaders were gone. The Qarsoon had been erased there. HULKs drifting in space like shattered bones. But no one celebrated. They had seen how the human ship had acted. It hadn't saved them. It hadn't even acknowledged them. And now it was watching. Governor Rellan stood in the command room of the shattered spire, surrounded by trembling aides. The building shook as one of the human drones passed overhead, scanning the streets with a beam of blue light. "They're mapping us," one aide whispered, clutching his claws together. "Like we're cattle." Rellan's eyes stayed on the holographic screen, which showed the massive vessel above. "No," he said softly, "not cattle, targets." Up in orbit, among the drifting wrecks of the Qarsoon, only one ship. Still lived a small Verelian scout corvette. It had hidden during the battle, its engines powered down, its crew praying not to be noticed. Captain Rin, a wiry, feathered being with sharp black eyes, watched the human ship from his viewport. "We should leave," his first officer whispered. "Now, before it notices us." Rin didn't answer at first. His eyes were fixed on the alien warship, studying it. It had no markings, no flags, no signals that matched any known fleet. But the shape, the style, the materials, it matched something he had only seen in fragments of Forbidden's archives. Ancient human designs. Weapons from a time when humanity was not a quiet backwater species, but something far, far worse. "Plot a jump," Rin said at last, his voice low. "We need to warn the galaxy. This thing is no savior." The first officer began to input. The coordinates dot, and every screen on the Corvette went black. A deep, cold voice filled the ship, vibrating through the hull. Unregistered vessel detected. Threat evaluation. Medium. Leave restricted zone immediately. Or be neutralized. Panic spread through the crew. "It knows we're here," someone shouted. "We're too far to run. It'll kill us before we spool the drive." "Silence," Rin barked. His feathers flared as he steadied his breathing. "Transmit. Tell it we are not hostile." But when his officer tried, every system went dead again. The voice returned, even colder. Evacuation window closed. Preparing engagement. On the view screen, the human ship shifted slightly. One of its forward weapons rotated, locking on to their corvette. A single shot would vaporize them. "Jump drive," Rin screamed. Anything now. The first officer slammed his claws onto the emergency drive controls. The corvette's engines whined and screamed as they tore at space itself. A blinding flash filled the VIEWPORT dot, and then they were gone, just as a thin beam of white energy cut through where they had been. The corvette reappeared light years away, systems smoking, crew shaken, but alive. Rin collapsed into his chair, his feathers slick with cold sweat. "Get me a channel," he rasped. "To the council, to anyone. They need to know this ship is not a ghost. It's a weapon, an ancient weapon, and it will not stop." Back on Veralia, the nightmare deepened. The human drones swept across the planet, scanning every living being, transmitting unknown data to the ship above. No one dared fire at them. The few who tried were reduced to ash instantly thin beams of light struck from the sky, so fast no one could even see the source. Then, as suddenly as they came, the drones pulled back. They rose in silence, returning to the warship. The planet went eerily still. The only sound was the low hum of the massive vessel's engines. Governor Relin stared at the skies. Why isn't it finishing us? An answer came moments later. Every device on the planet comes, holoscreens, even old analog displays lit up with the same message. Phase 1 complete. Non-human population cataloged. Phase 2 will commence after strategic relocation. Relin's frills flattened. Strategic relocation? What does that mean? The question was answered when the ship moved. Slowly, the human vessel turned away from Veralia, but not to leave. Its engines flared, and it began to drift toward the nearest populated system. Drasil, a hub of 6 colonies, all members of the Galactic Council. The Council received Captain Rin's warning at nearly the same moment. They detected the warship moving toward Drasil. Panic spread across the chambers. Representatives shouted over each other, demanding action. "Destroy it now," one barked, "before it reaches the core systems." "With what?" another snapped. "No fleet can stop that thing." "Did you not see what it did to the Karsoon Armada?" "Then we must call Earth," a third voice said, quieter but sharper than the rest. The room fell silent. If this is one of their war machines, only they can control it. But someone else shook their head. Earth has been silent for 1,000 years. Their colonies are dead, abandoned. They are not coming. Then we're already dead, another muttered. Meanwhile, the warship reached the edges of Drasil. Space. Patrol fleets scrambled to intercept, but the human vessel didn't slow. It didn't send warnings this time. It simply advanced, silent and steady. The first patrol fleet, 20 ships strong, opened fire. Missiles, energy beams, everything they had. Every shot was intercepted. The human ship's drones swarmed forward, forming a shimmering wall of light. The incoming weapons struck the barrier and vanished like raindrops on fire. Not a single round touched the hull. The warship didn't retaliate at first. It simply kept moving. The fleet tried to fall back, regroup, flank. It didn't matter. A single pulse of white energy erupted from the warship's side, arcing outward like a ripple. The pulse wasn't even a weapon, not directly. It was a command. Every ship in the patrol fleet went dead, their engines cut out. Their lights shut off. Their crews screamed as their systems failed one by one. They were left adrift, powerless, waiting. Then, without warning, the warship opened fire. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Each patrol ship was erased with a single beam, one after another, precise and cold. There were no explosions. The beams simply pierced through each hull, cutting power cores in two. The ships drifted apart in silence. Lifeless. The warship never broke speed. In the Drasil capital. Panic erupted as the news spread. Refugee convoys formed, thousands of ships fleeing in every direction. But the human vessel was not hunting them. Yet it had a path, a destination straight for the capital world. Governor Relin, still on Veralia, sent one final transmission before the human ship disappeared beyond his sensors. Do not think this ship is a savior. It is a predator. It will not stop with us. It will not stop with the Karsoon. It will not stop at all. And as his message ended, far away, the Drasil defense grid lit up. The warship had entered orbit. Its weapons began to glow. And the galaxy realized something terrifying. It didn't matter who you were. Karsoon, Verelian, Drasilian. To this ship, every non-human was the same. A target. The Drasil system burned for 3 days, not with fire, but with fear. The human ship, silent and merciless, moved from world to world. It did not speak. It did not negotiate. It scanned, cataloged, and erased. Entire orbital stations were cut apart with surgical beams. Defense fleets were wiped away before they even closed a firing range. And when its work was done, The ship didn't linger. It didn't loot, didn't claim, didn't occupy. It simply turned and jumped to the next system, leaving only wreckage. And silence behind. The galaxy began to whisper not at first. The rumors were confused. Some said it was a ghost, a derelict AI gone mad, a machine from some forgotten war. Others swore they had seen markings on its hull, faint but clear. Ancient Terran script, the language of old Earth. In council halls, whispers turned to arguments. The council was supposed to keep the galaxy stable to prevent wars like this. But no fleet could touch the ship. Every weapon failed. Every battle was a massacre. In a dim archive beneath the Capitol. 3 beings worked in secret to find answers. Archivist Torah, a thin, long-limbed creature with glowing eyes, stood before a holographic wall of fragmented records. Dust coated the old drives. Much of the information here had been deliberately buried, sealed away by orders from past councils. Her assistant, a squat reptilian named Kren, hissed nervously. "We should not even be in here. These files are restricted for a reason. You know what the penalty is." "I know," Tara murmured. Her voice was soft but sharp. "But the council is blind. That ship, it's not new. It's not some random. Look at this." She flicked her fingers, and the holographic wall shifted. A series of old recordings flickered to life, grainy, damaged by time. Each showed the same thing: colossal human warships, their weapons burning like captured stars, erasing fleets with single shots. Kren's frills twitched. This can't be real. Humans were never that powerful. They were merchants, colonists, minor soldiers. They are now, another voice said. The third figure stepped from the shadows. An older being, skin pale and worn, his eyes cold. He was Council Historian Drayle, one of the few who remembered the truth. 15,000 years ago, Drayle said, humanity was not what it is today. They were warriors, builders of nightmares. The Council didn't just write them out of history. We buried their weapons. We promised those war machines were destroyed. Torah stared at the flickering images of the old human ships. Then how is one still alive? Drayle's gaze hardened. Because something or someone kept it alive. Across the galaxy, refugees fled from system to system. They whispered the same phrase over and over. It doesn't stop. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't sleep. Convoys traveled in darkness, engines low, hoping the warship wouldn't notice them. Some systems shut down all communications, fearing that any signal would draw its wrath. Others tried to beg for mercy, sending transmissions directly to the ship. None were answered. In the Dressil system, a refugee convoy of 400 ships slipped into a dense nebula, hiding among the charged clouds. For a moment, they thought they were safe. Then the sensors began to scream. A single contact appeared on their long-range scans. No energy signature, no signal. Just a shadow, moving through the nebula like a phantom. Its size alone gave it away. The warship had found them. Panic erupted. Hundreds of ships powered up engines, trying to scatter. That was their mistake. Warship didn't fire its main weapons. Instead, it released a wave of drones, hundreds this time. The drones swept through the nebula, moving faster than any fighter. They didn't destroy the convoy ships outright. They disabled them. One by one, the fleeing vessels went dark as strange pulses struck their hulls, draining their power. Inside one of the refugee ships, a child stared out a viewport, watching. As the massive silhouette of the human ship emerged from the fog, its weapons glowed faintly, casting pale light through the clouds. It didn't even seem to be moving quickly yet. It felt like it was everywhere at once. The ship's voice, cold and calm, reached every vessel in the convoy. Refugee vessels identified. Non-human signatures confirmed. Classification: Potential. Threats. Initiating elimination sequence. The convoy screamed for help, but no one came. In the council chambers, panic reached a breaking point. Dozens of member species demanded answers, screaming at the presiding speaker. "Where is Earth?" one shouted. "If this is theirs, call them. Make them stop it. Earth is dead." Another snarled. "We all know this. They burned themselves out centuries ago. They abandoned their colonies. There is no one left to call." "Then we're doomed," a third whispered. The speaker slammed her gavel. "Enough. We cannot fight what we do not understand. Our archives are incomplete. We need knowledge before we can act." She turned to Drayle, the old historian, who had been summoned to speak. "You've studied old Earth more than anyone," she said. "Tell us, what are we facing?" Drayle's face was grim. "We are facing one of humanity's judgment fleet vessels. They called them Oblivion-class warships. Built during the Apex Wars, long before the Council was formed. Their mission was simple: protect humanity and erase everything else if necessary." The chamber erupted in shouts and curses. "They were supposed to be destroyed," Drayle continued. "Every treaty, every record said so. But if one survived," his eyes darkened, "it will not stop. Not until every potential threat to humanity is gone. That means us. All of us." The speaker's frills quivered. "Then we have no choice. We must find humanity, if they still exist. Only they can stop their own creation. And if they don't?" Someone asked. Drayle looked toward the stars beyond the chamber window. "Then we will all burn." In deep space, the Oblivion-class warship continued its hunt. It no longer moved randomly. Its course was deliberate, precise. Each jump brought it closer to the Council's core systems. Each attack seemed to clear a path, eliminating every fleet, every station that might slow it down. But there was something stranger still. Archivist Torah discovered it first. Hidden in the old records was a fragment of a transmission sent by humans themselves during the Apex Wars. It was a warning to their allies at the time. She decoded it, her eyes widening as she read aloud to Kren. "These vessels are not mere machines. Each carries a command core bound to a living mind. The commander cannot die until the ship's mission is complete." Kren's scales turned pale. A living commander? After 15,000 years? That's not possible. Torah shook her head. "It is. Humans had technology far beyond what we thought. They could preserve a mind, a body, for as long as needed. If this ship still follows orders, then someone or something is still giving them." They looked at each other in silence. The warship wasn't rogue. It was following a plan. Yggdrasil. Convoy never sent another transmission. When another fleet arrived days later, they found only drifting wreckage and faint radiation where hundreds of ships had been. There were no survivors, not even debris worth salvaging. It was as if the convoy had been erased from existence. And in the distance, long-range sensors detected the warship jumping again. Its trajectory was unmistakable. Straight toward the Galactic Council's homeworld. For the first time in centuries, the Council issued a galaxy-wide state of emergency. Evacuations began. Civilizations that had been rivals for generations suddenly found themselves allies, united by fear. Entire sectors darkened their beacons, hoping to hide. It didn't matter. Everywhere it went, the ship found them. And with each system it burned, a new question grew in every heart, whispered like a prayer. If humanity is truly gone, who is piloting the nightmare? The galaxy stopped sleeping. Every hour, another system went dark. Another fleet vanished. Another world sent one last desperate signal, then nothing. The human warship was no longer a rumor, no longer a whisper in back channels and old archives. It was a shadow on every star chart, and it was hunting Dot in the council core. The main chamber had become a place of chaos. The floor, once calm and ceremonial, was now crowded with panicked ambassadors and military officers, their voices a constant roar. Maps of the galaxy flickered across the massive screens. Red lines showed where the Oblivion-class warship had passed. They cut through space like a scar, a single burning path through the Council's heartlands. Each stop was the same: orbital bombardment, fleet destruction, no survivors. The speaker, her voice ragged from hours of shouting, slammed her gavel against the podium. "Order! Silence, all of you!" The chamber quieted, but only for a moment. Fear still buzzed in the air like static. "We cannot keep watching it move system to system while we argue," she said. "We need a solution, now." An insectoid. Ambassador clicked his mandibles nervously. "Every fleet we send is destroyed before it gets within range. Our weapons cannot pierce its shields. Our interceptors are swatted from the stars like insects. If we can't fight it, then what? We run? Let it purge us one by one? Maybe we can reason with it," another voice called. "If humans truly made it, maybe it still listens." Drail, the old historian, stood at the center of the chamber. His voice was like a blade, sharp and deliberate. "It does not listen. You have all heard the transmissions. It sees us as threats. All of us. There is only one group it will respond to humans. And none of us are human." That brought silence. Finally, a reptilian general hissed. "Then we find them. If Earth still has descendants, we make them take control of this thing. Or we die." Another ambassador scoffed. "Earth is ash. Everyone knows it." Drail turned to face the skeptic. "Not everyone. The archives mention surviving colonies, humans who fled, who swore never to return. If we can find them, perhaps we can negotiate." The chamber erupted again, voices rising into another storm. No one wanted to admit the truth. The Council, the most powerful political force in the galaxy, was begging for the help of a species most believed extinct. Far from the chamber, the nightmare continued. The Oblivion-class warship emerged from a hyperspace tier above the Halros system, a mining hub of 5 moons and 3 industrial stations. The system's defense commander, Admiral Soar, watched from his bridge as the dark shape unfolded from the void. Even at a distance, the ship looked alive. The surface of its hull seemed to ripple faintly, like something beneath the metal shifted and breathed. Its glowing weapons were dim, not yet charged, but their very presence made his crew tremble. "Is it targeting us?" His second asked. Soar's mandibles clicked. "It will. Ready the fleet. This time we don't wait. We strike first." Halros had more defenses than most. 8 battleships, 40 escorts, and a planetary shield network strong enough to withstand any normal bombardment. Soar was no coward he. Had beaten raiders, pirates, even Carsoon hunting parties. "Launch all fighters," he ordered. "Concentrate fire on its weapons array. If we can disable those guns," the warship moved. Not fast. Not in any way that looked urgent. It simply drifted forward, silent, unhurried, as if nothing in the system mattered. "Fire!" Soar barked. Hundreds of missiles, beams, and torpedoes streaked through the void. They filled the darkness with light, a storm of energy slamming toward the human ship. For a moment, hope sparked among the crews. Then, one by one, every weapon detonated before impact. Not intercepted, not deflected. They simply died, their power vanishing mid-flight. On Soar's screens, the sensors lit up with strange readings. A wave something invisible was radiating from the human ship, a field that smothered energy like a blanket over a flame. "It's draining our weapons," an officer whispered. "Even our reactors are." The lights on the bridge flickered. "Admiral." Soar turned slowly toward the viewport, where the Oblivion class continued its advance. Its weapons were glowing now, white-hot, brighter than any sun. "Brace," he whispered. The first shot erased one of the battleships. Not destroy erased. It was no explosion, no wreckage. Just a blinding flash, and an empty space where the vessel had been. The second shot took another. The fleet scattered, panic overriding discipline. Fighters tried to dive close, but they were shredded by invisible defenses before they even reached the hull. Sore stared as the rest of his fleet died around him. He knew what was coming next. "Send this to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them it's not a ship." The transmission barely left his ship before the Oblivion class turned its guns on his bridge dot in the Council core. A message played only once before cutting to static. Silence hung over the chamber. Not a ship. Drail's voice was a whisper. He's right. These vessels, they weren't just ships. They were designed as extensions of their commanders. Living fortresses. A single mind, guiding a body of steel. "The." Speaker turned. "Are you saying yes?" Drail interrupted. "It is alive. And if the human within still lives, they will not stop until every threat to humanity is erased." Someone else spoke, fear dripping from their voice. "Then we aren't just fighting a machine. We're fighting a human. A human from the age when they ruled war itself." The chamber went still. Meanwhile, the Oblivion class disappeared. One moment, it hung in orbit over Halros, its weapons cooling as the last wrecks drifted. The next, it was gone, not a jump signature, not a trace. It simply blinked out of existence. Across the sector, panic spread. Scouts searched for its wake, its hyperspace trails. Nothing. Then, in the heart of the core, alarms screamed. The warship had reappeared inside the Clearth system, home to billions, the largest population center outside the Council homeworld. Itself. No one knew how it bypassed every detection net, every early warning system. The first anyone saw of it was its shadow blotting out, Clearth's sun as it entered high orbit. On the surface, people screamed and ran as the sky darkened. The ship's vast outline stretched across the clouds, its surface flickering with faint lines of light. Its weapons began to charge, bright white spheres of energy building along its spines. Every comm system in the system lit up with the same message: non-human population detected. Defensive infrastructure active. Threat level severe. Commencing purge. Defense platforms fired, but their beams curved away before reaching the hull. Fighters scrambled, but their engines died the moment they got close. The planet's shield, designed to withstand weeks of siege, shattered like glass as the first pulse of energy struck it. The people of Clearth had only minutes to evacuate. Most didn't make it. Above the planet, the Oblivion class adjusted its angle. Its main weapon, a colossal cannon that stretched nearly half its length, began to glow brighter than ever. And far away, in the council chambers, Drail watched the live feed, his voice cold. "If we don't find humanity soon," he said, "we will not have a council left to save." The camera feed cut to static. The only thing anyone in the chamber could hear was the faint hum of the planet killer weapon charging. And somewhere, deep within the Oblivion class, a human voice called. Distorted, but unmistakably alive, spoke to itself, unheard by the galaxy. Target acquired. For humanity. Always for humanity. Clearth was gone. Not destroyed, erased. When the light cleared, there was no planet, no stations, no defense grid. Just a silent field of dust and cooling plasma, drifting where a world had been. The Oblivion-class warship did not stay to observe. Its weapons dimmed, its engines flared, and it turned away, vanishing back into the dark. The news reached the council core before the debris cooled. Entire chambers went silent as the footage played on repeat. A planet, a world of billions, gone. In less than 5 minutes. No one cheered, no one argued. Fear had swallowed the galaxy whole. In the emergency chamber, the speaker stood at the head of the table, her voice sharp and cold. This cannot continue. If we do nothing, it will cut through every world we have. We will not survive waiting for humanity to save us. We must stop it ourselves. Drayle, the historian, stood at the far end. His old eyes were fixed on the star map. No fleet can face it head on. You've seen what happens. It disables weapons, drains power, erases entire armadas with single strikes. Then we do not face it head on, the speaker said. We set a trap. We force it into a kill zone. A heavy silence followed. General Corps, a broad-shouldered warrior whose species had never lost a war, leaned forward. We can build a fleet, not just warships, everything. Mines, orbital cannons, disruptor nets. Even the old void spike arrays we swore never to use. If we hit it with everything at once, perhaps we die slower, Drayle interrupted. His voice cut through the room like a blade. Do you not understand? That is not a ship. It is a fortress with a mind, a human mind. The kind of human who fought in the apex wars. You cannot outgun something that has erased entire civilizations before our ancestors even crawled from the dirt. The speaker turned to him. Then what do you suggest, historian? Sit and wait to be erased? Drayle didn't answer at first. His eyes drifted to the void outside the chamber windows, where distant stars burned cold. There is another option. He said at last, we find humanity. There are rumors colonies beyond the mapped sectors, deep in the dark, where their descendants hide. If we can reach them first, perhaps we can convince them to recall the ship. And if we can't? General Corps asked. Drayle's gaze hardened. Then we have no choice. We lure it into our trap, and we pray. The trap was built at Eric's Prime, a barren system with no civilian population. If the Council was going to fight a god, they would do it away from their people. Hundreds of warships gathered. Every major species sent what they could spare. The skies around the gas giant Eric's 4 filled with minefields, cloaked drone swarms, and enormous energy beam arrays powered by reactors buried within the planet's crust. They even deployed something forbidden. The Void Dash spikes. These weapons, relics of a time before the Council banned planet killers, tore rifts in space itself. Anything caught in their field risked being sliced apart by the fabric of reality. They were unstable, dangerous, and likely to kill as many allies as enemies, but no one cared. This was not about victory. It was about survival. The Oblivion class did not make them wait. Exactly 6 hours after the last mine was armed, space split open on the system's edge. The warship slid from the rift, silent and unhurried, its surface glimmering faintly. It ignored the fleet. It ignored the minefields. It simply began moving toward the gas giant, scanning, cataloging. Stand? By General Corps said from his flagship. His voice was low but steady. Do not engage until it is within range. Let it think we are hiding. The fleet waited in silence, weapons primed, crews trembling. The warship drifted closer, its weapons still dim. And then, without warning, every ship's comm system lit up. A voice spoke, not the cold mechanical broadcast they had heard before. This was deeper, human, rough, distorted by time, but alive. I know you're here. The words echoed through every channel, every speaker, even through systems that weren't powered. Your fleets, your traps, your desperation. I can feel it, and I want you to know something before this begins. A pause. The silence felt heavier than the void. This isn't personal. It's duty. You've spread too far. You've threatened what remains of my kind. And I swore long ago that I would finish what I started. The voice grew colder, quieter, almost a whisper. I am the last commander of the Judgment Fleets, and I will not stop until the galaxy is safe for humanity and humanity alone. On every bridge, crews froze. Some trembled. Others stared. At their consoles, unable to move, General Kor slammed his claw on the arm of his chair. All units open fire. Now, the trap sprung. Every mine detonated at once, flooding the void with waves of plasma and magnetic bursts. Drones swarmed forward, launching volleys of missiles. The buried beam arrays on Erix-4 fired, their energy lances converging on the warship from all directions. The void spikes activated, their rifts in space tearing across the battlefield like glowing scars. For a moment, it worked. The Oblivion class shuddered as its shields rippled under the combined assault. One of its glowing spines dimmed, its light faltering. Hope flickered in the hearts of the defenders. "Keep firing," Kor roared. "It can be hurt." Then the warship moved. In a single motion. It spun, faster than something its size should ever move. Its weapons flared to life, not white now, but a deep, burning red. A wave pulsed outward, not a beam, not a missile, but pure energy. Every minefield detonated prematurely. Half the fleet's reactors overloaded, plunging their ships into darkness. The void spikes shattered, their rifts collapsing violently and ripping nearby vessels in half. And then the ship spoke again. "Your weapons are clever, but I have seen worse. I have used worse." The next wave of fire was not measured. It was fury. Beams cut through battleships, splitting them apart. Drones from the Oblivion class swarmed through the surviving fleet, carving into hulls with surgical precision. The planet-based arrays barely fired a second volley before a single pulse of energy melted their reactors beneath the crust, triggering earthquakes across ARIX-4. Within minutes, the trap became a slaughter. On General Kor's flagship, alarms screamed as the ship's hull buckled. He turned to his crew, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Transmit one last message." "To the Council," he said. "Tell them, we're not fighting a ship. We're fighting a human warlord in a machine built to end civilizations. If they want to live, they find humanity. Or we all burn." The flagship's view screen filled with blinding light as a beam tore through its core. Minutes later, the battlefield was silent. Thousands of wrecks drifted in orbit around Erix-4, their remains glowing in the gas giant's reflected light. The Oblivion class hovered among them, untouched. Its weapons dimmed. Then the human voice returned, this time speaking only once. "This was your last warning. Next, I cleanse your council itself." The ship vanished into a ripple of warped space, heading straight for the core. And across the galaxy, every species felt the same dread. The voice in the void was not a ghost. It was a human. And he was coming for them all. The council core was no longer a place of order. The chambers, once bright and filled with calm debates, were now a war bunker. Holomaps flickered constantly, showing fleets scattering, colonies burning, and the path of the Oblivion class as it cut through the stars. Every red line drawn on those maps ended the same way: silence. The speaker stood in the center of it all, her frills drooping with exhaustion. Around her, representatives shouted, begged, and cursed, their voices clashing into a single wave of fear. "We can't fight it," one roared. Erix Prime was supposed to be a kill zone, and it slaughtered our fleets like insects. "It is heading here," another shrieked. "Do you understand? The core itself. Our people, our worlds, everything we built. Then we need humanity." That last shout silenced the room. Everyone turned to Drail, the old historian. He stood near the edge of the chamber, hunched but steady, his gaze fixed on the maps. "We have only one hope," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "Find those who remain of Earth's children. If they still live, they are the only ones the judgment fleet will obey. The speaker's eyes narrowed. Can we even find them in time? The warship will be here in days, maybe less. Drail's claws tapped against his cane as he looked up. The archives hold whispers. Colonies far beyond the mapped sectors. They fled the Council's reach long ago, erasing their trails. But I know where to start. Far from the Council core, in the cold void beyond the settled galaxy, Archivist Tora and her assistant Kren stood inside a derelict station buried in Inan. Asteroid Field. The station was ancient, older than the Council itself. Its walls bore markings in old Terran script, faded but legible. Tora brushed her hand across the letters, her glowing eyes narrowing. Are you sure this is wise? Kren asked, his voice shaking. If the Council wanted these records erased, the Council didn't erase them, Tora interrupted. Humans did. She activated a console. Dust burst from the old machinery as holographic displays flickered to life. Coordinates, fragmented star charts, and encrypted logs filled the air around them. These are the last records of the Exodus, Tora said. When humanity abandoned the core, they left beacons only they could follow. But the Oblivion class? It's following a path, and it's not random. It's moving toward the same region these charts point to. Kren's frills twitched. So, it's not just erasing us, it's clearing a corridor. A path for something. Tora's eyes darkened. For someone, or for humanity itself. Whatever its orders are, this is part of them. Back in the Council chambers, panic turned to despair when a new signal arrived. The Oblivion class had transmitted again. Not a threat, not a warning, an ultimatum. The speaker played the message on the central display. A figure appeared, dark, against a glowing backdrop. A human. His features were pale and sharp, his body covered in strange armor that seemed grown into his flesh. His eyes glowed faintly, unnatural, as though lit by the ship itself. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost coldly polite. To the Council, I am Commander Adrien Vale, last surviving officer of the Judgment Fleets. My orders remain unchanged. Non-human expansion is a threat to humanity's survival. I will complete the mission, as I swore. He leaned forward slightly, the light casting shadows across his face. I do not hate you. This is not revenge. It is correction. Stand down, and your extinction will be swift. Resist, and I will make it slower. The image cut to black dot. No one spoke. Finally, Drail whispered, He's not just a machine. He's human, but not as we know them. He's been alive since the Apex Wars, preserved by technology even we don't understand. And his loyalty to humanity is absolute. The speaker turned sharply. Then where is this humanity he serves? Earth is gone, their colonies abandoned. What is he protecting? Drail hesitated, his eyes lowering. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps his orders were to protect humanity, even if it no longer exists. And if so, he looked at the stars beyond the chamber window. He will erase every other species until only ghosts remain. Tora's findings arrived hours later. She and Kren transmitted the location of the old star charts to the Council, a cluster of systems deep beyond the galactic rim, in a region no one dared explore. The charts called it. The Black reached out. Her message was urgent. If humanity survives, anywhere, it is here. And Vale's path matches these coordinates. If we reach them first, perhaps they can stop him. If not, the transmission cut out with static. Moments later, Council sensors detected a massive surge of energy near Taurus Station. By the time scouts arrived, the asteroid field was empty. The station was gone. Only faint traces of radiation lingered. Matching the Oblivion class's weapon signature, the Council made its decision. A fleet of fast couriers was launched toward the Black Reach, carrying diplomats, escorts, and every record of humanity's. Old treaties they could find. They were told one thing: find the descendants of Earth, beg them for help, promise them anything. Meanwhile, the rest of the council prepared for the inevitable. The core would not be abandoned. Billions could not be evacuated in time. Instead, the core's defenses layers of orbital fortresses, planetary shields, and fleets were mobilized. General Core's replacement, a cold-blooded tactician named Vera, took command. She knew the truth. No defense would hold forever. But they would buy time for the couriers, for the chance that humanity might answer. And deep in her war room, she said quietly to her aides, "If no humans are found, then we prepare something far worse. If the core must die, we will not die alone." The Oblivion class came sooner than expected. 3 days after Clearth's destruction, its massive silhouette emerged from a tier in space, just beyond the core's outer defense ring. Its hull gleamed faintly, its weapons dimmed, as if it knew the defenders were watching. The voice of Commander Vale echoed through every system in the core, his tone calm, as if addressing an old friend. "Council, this is your final cycle. I will begin cleansing at dawn. Evacuate what you can. Do not resist. Those who remain will not suffer long." And then silence. The core's skies filled with fleets. Fortresses powered their massive cannons. Planetary shields locked into place. Billions watched the dark shape in the sky, waiting, whispering prayers to gods they no longer believed in. And far beyond, in the Black Reach, a courier ship flickered into real space staring at a world none had seen in millennia. It was green, blue, a live dot, and orbiting it were human ships, dozens, maybe hundreds. Different from Vale's, smaller, sleeker, but clearly descendants of the same terrible legacy. The couriers opened a channel. The first. Words spoken in 1,000 years from the council to true living humans were simple: "Help us, or we all die." The Black Reach was nothing like the galaxy the council knew. The courier ships drifted through a dark nebula, their scanners struggling to penetrate the dense, shifting clouds. The stars here were dim, hidden by endless black dust. Communications failed. Even the escort's fast, sleek interceptors kept their engines low, fearing every echo might bring Vale's warship crashing down on them. And then, through the fog, they saw it. A planet. Green oceans, blue skies. A living world, orbiting. It were human ships. Dozens of them, maybe more, each unlike any vessel the couriers had seen. They were not monstrous like Vale's Oblivion class, but they were built with the same cold precision-sharp angles, heavy armor, weapons arrays that made even the escorts keep their distance. Before the couriers could transmit a greeting, a signal hit them like a blade. No words, just a demand. Identify, now. The lead courier, its ambassador trembling in his harness, activated the cone. "We are the council. We seek the descendants of Earth. The galaxy is burning. One of your warships." A new voice cut him off. Human, cold, Vale. The word was spoken like a curse. The fog around the planet shifted, and larger human vessels emerged, battleships, carriers, a force strong enough to erase the courier fleet in seconds. The same voice returned, sharper now. "You found us. That was unwise, but speak quickly. Why are you here?" The ambassador's frills shook. "Vale is coming for the council core. He's destroyed systems, fleets, entire planets. We know only humanity can stop him. We need your help." There was a long pause. The human voice, when it returned, carried no warmth. "We swore never to interfere with your council again. The galaxy you built was not ours to save. But Vale." Another pause. A faint sound like a laugh, but without joy. is older than even we thought. If he finishes his mission, he will not stop with you. Eventually, he will come for us, and we will not allow that. The human fleet began to move, positioning around the planet. More signals burst across the comm channels. The courier crews translated what they could: orders, deployment codes, activation sequences. The humans were preparing for war, but not just with Vale. One of their transmissions was clear: if the Council has led him here, we purge the Council too. Far away, at the Council core, dawn broke under a black sky. Vale's warship hung above the outer defense ring, silent and still. It had not fired yet, not a single shot. It simply watched, like a predator circling prey before the strike. General. Vera stood on the command deck of the Corps' central defense station, her clawed hands gripping the railing. Her fleet, thousands of ships, dozens of fortress stations, and the most advanced planetary shields in existence, waited at full alert. Is it scanning us? Her second asked. It's studying us, Vera said, her voice flat. He wants us to know he isn't rushing. He isn't worried. He wants the fear to spread. The comms crackled. The voice of Commander Vale filled the station, calm and clear. Council, I gave you one cycle. It has passed. Evacuate what remains. Those who stay will be cleansed. Vera leaned toward the comm panel, her voice low and firm. This is General Vera of the Corps Defense. You will not pass. You will not touch our worlds without blood. You may be a relic of humanity's wars, but you will bleed like anything else. For the first time, Vale's voice changed. A faint almost like amusement, edged his words. General, I respect your defiance. I will remember it when your station is ash. The transmission cut. Moments later, the Oblivion class moved dot. It didn't fire its planet killer first. It didn't even engage the main fleet. Instead, it released another swarm of drones, thousands this time, far more than before. They moved in precise formations, each carrying small but devastating weapons. They hit the outer defenses first. Orbital lines detonated before they could arm. Interceptor squadrons were shredded in seconds. In less than 5 minutes, the entire first defense ring was gone. Then the warship itself advanced. Its weapons flared white, and beams lanced through the void. Fortress stations crumbled. Battleships were sliced in half. The Corps' defensive net, which had held against entire wars, began to collapse under the weight of one vessel. General Vera barked orders. Pull the fleet back. Draw it closer to the planetary shields. Make it commit. Dozens of ships turned, retreating toward the Corps' twin worlds. Their massive shields glowed, forming a protective barrier as the warship approached. For a brief moment, hope sparked. The Oblivion class slowed, as if calculating. Its drones pulled back. The beams dimmed dot, and then Vale's voice returned, quieter, almost gentle. You built these shields to survive any siege. Impressive, but I built something to end all sieges. The warship's central spine opened, revealing a weapon the Corps had not seen before. Not the planet killer, not the familiar beams, something older, something worse. A pulse of deep red energy spread outward, not as a blast, but as a wave, silent and invisible until it struck the shields. Every generator powering the planetary defenses shut down at once. The shields flickered, then died. The twin worlds were naked. Billions screamed as the skies turned dark. The Oblivion class's weapons began to charge, glowing hotter, brighter, preparing to erase not just the fleet, but entire planets. And then, just as the first blast built to full power, another signal cut through the void. A human voice. Not Vale. Different. Strong. Commanding. Adrien Vale. Stand down. The warship's glow dimmed, just slightly. Across the core's sensors, dozens of new contacts appeared on the edge of the system. Human ships sleek, lethal, and flying in formation. The Black Reach had arrived. Vale's voice was colder than ever. I warned the Reach to stay buried. You come now to stop me? Or to finish the job you started when you left us to die? The new voice answered, steady and grim. Both. You swore to protect humanity. You are humanity no longer. Stand down, or we end you. The core fleets, battered and broken, watched in silence. Two human forces, ancient enemies, now faced each other above their worlds. And for the first time, the galaxy realized this fight was no longer theirs. The core was silent. Billions held their breath as the sky above their twin worlds became a battlefield of ghosts, two human forces, each born of a past the galaxy had spent millennia trying to forget. On one side, the Oblivion class, a living fortress commanded by Adrien Vale, last warlord of the Judgment Fleets. Its black hull glimmered with faint red light, its spines crackling with the power to erase planets. On the other, the Black Reach fleet sleek, fast, deadly. Dozens of ships, smaller than Vale's monstrosity, but built with a terrifying precision that made even the Council's largest battleships look like toys. Between them, the core's scattered fleet floated like wreckage, their crews watching. In stunned silence, they had no role now. This was no longer their war. Vale spoke first. His voice filled every channel, cold and steady. You hid for centuries, while the galaxy forgot us. You swore never to interfere again, and now you arrive, not to save them, but to stop me. The lead ship of the Black Reach fleet responded, a woman's voice strong and sharp. Because you've become what we feared. Vale, you were built to protect humanity, not to turn into a god. You're not saving us. You're destroying everything. A low, distorted hum bled through Vale's transmission. It might have been laughter. The Council spreads like a plague. Non-humans breed, expand, and erase what remains of us. If I finish my mission, humanity will have a future. If I stop, the Council devours everything until we are the ones erased. The woman's tone hardened. You're not fighting for humanity anymore. You're fighting for ghosts. And we can't let a ghost burn the stars. The first shots came without warning. Black Reach destroyers opened fire, lancing beams of blue energy at the Oblivion-class's spines. The massive ship's shields flared, absorbing the blows. But for the first time since it awoke, it moved defensively, rotating, repositioning, calculating. Vale's response was swift. The Oblivion class released a storm of drones, more than it had used against the Council, each equipped with weapons that burned through hulls like paper. The Black Reach ships scattered, firing precision volleys that cut the swarm apart. The core's surviving ships pulled back, retreating toward the twin worlds as the two human forces tore into each other. General Vera watched from her shattered command station, her claws gripping the railing until they bled. We stay out of this, she ordered. Whoever wins. We deal with them after. But deep down she knew there would be no after if Vale won. The battle raged across the system. The Oblivion class fired its main beams, cutting through two Black Reach cruisers in a single blast. But the smaller ships darted in close, hitting its weaker segments, with torpedoes that bored into the living armor and detonated from within. For the first time, Vale's warship bled. Shards of blackened hull drifted away, and its once perfect surface cracked, glowing faintly from wounds. Vale's voice echoed again, tinged now with something darker straying. You would destroy me? To save them? These creatures who will erase you the moment I am gone? You think they will spare you? The Black Reach commander answered, her tone calm but unyielding. We don't care about them. We care about stopping you. If the Council turns on us after, so be it. Better them than you. The Oblivion class shifted tactics. Its central spine split apart, revealing the planet-killer weapon. The glow intensified, brighter than any sun. But it didn't target the Black Reach ships it aimed at the core's twin worlds. Vale's voice, cold and final. If they lose their worlds, they will scatter, the Council will crumble. Humanity will rise again. You can fight me, but you cannot. Save them, the weapon charged. The core's citizens screamed as the skies turned white dot, and then, from the Black Reach flagship, came a single order. All ships, now. The Black Reach fleet launched everything. Every missile, every beam, every torpedo. Dozens of ships dove toward the Oblivion class, engines burning. Even as Vale's drones tore them apart, some of the smaller ships didn't fire at all. They rammed the warship's hull, detonating their cores in massive bursts of energy. Explosions ripped across Vale's fortress, tearing through its armor. The planet-killer's glow faltered. Its charge stuttered. Vale roared not through comms, but through the void itself, his ship amplifying his voice into a raw, distorted bellow. Traitors, you would kill your own kind for aliens? The Black Reach commander responded, voice calm even as her own fleet burned. Better traitors and monsters. Her flagship drove forward, engines at full burn. A spear of light aimed directly at the Oblivion class's core. The impact was blinding. The flagship's core detonated. Inside the warship's wounded spine, energy surged through Vale's vessel, cracking its hull like glass. Its weapons flared one last time, then died. For a moment, the massive ship drifted, silent, broken, but not yet gone. Vale's voice returned, weaker but still defiant. I am humanity. Without me, you will all fall. They will come for you, and you will wish I had finished this. The Black Reach ships fired one final volley. Beams and torpedoes slammed into the Oblivion class's ruptured core. The warship imploded, its remains scattered across the void, a silent graveyard for the last warlord of the Judgment fleets. The core survived, barely dotted the Black Reach fleet. Only a handful of ships remained, scarred and silent. They did not answer the Council's signals. They simply turned, engines flaring, and vanished into the nebula from which they came. General Vera watched them go, her frills twitching with unease. They saved us, she said quietly. But they didn't do it for us. The speaker's voice, from the council chamber, was grim. Then we must prepare. If the Reach returns, they may not come as saviors next time. And as the last pieces of Vale's warship burned in the upper atmosphere, a single faint transmission echoed across the core's channels, not from Vale, not from the Reach. A human voice, distorted from somewhere deep in the void. The Judgment fleets were many. Vale was only one. The galaxy is not safe. Prepare. The signal cut dot, and the stars felt darker than ever.